Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt an invisible weight in the air, even before a single word was spoken? You notice the subtle shift in a person's posture. You catch the fleeting, averted gaze. You hear the heavy silence that everyone else seems to ignore. People often praise you for this. They call you perceptive, empathetic, and uniquely gifted at reading the room. But what they do not see is the hidden cost of this gift. They do not see you at 2 a.m, lying awake in the dark, completely exhausted. While the rest of the world is resting, your brain is still working, relentlessly rewinding and overanalyzing a tiny sigh or a slight change in tone from 10 hours ago. What happens when your emotional radar simply does not have an off switch? Welcome to the silent psyche. Let us explore the hidden burden of being too aware. Society is quick to put a label on this kind of exhaustion. People might tell you that you are just overthinking. They might say you are taking things too personally, or that you are simply too sensitive. It is incredibly frustrating to hear these dismissive words, because the truth runs much deeper than a simple personality trait. This is not a conscious choice you are making. Let us look at a very common scenario. Imagine walking into a crowded party. A person with a typical nervous system walks through the door and immediately sees the delicious food, hears the upbeat music, and feels the lively atmosphere. But when you walk into that exact same room, your experience is entirely different. Instantly, you are reading a complex, invisible web of social dynamics. You notice the forced, polite smile on the host's face. You see the person standing quietly in the corner, holding a drink and feeling completely left out. You feel the subtle, unspoken tension between two friends who are pretending to get along. You are not just observing. Your nervous system is working on overdrive. Every single second, your brain is quietly gathering and processing thousands of nonverbal signals. A slight shift in posture, a micro-expression, a tiny hesitation before speaking. This is not overthinking. In psychology, this is known as a state of unconscious cognitive overload. Your mind is absorbing the emotional weight of an entire room, and it is doing all of this completely without your permission. So where does this invisible radar come from? Why is your nervous system processing the world so intensely, while others simply breeze through it? For some of you, this profound awareness is woven directly into your DNA. Researchers have found that nearly 20% of the population is born with the trait of a highly sensitive person. If you belong to this group, your nervous system was simply built with a highly tuned antenna. From the moment you were born, you naturally absorbed and processed environmental and emotional stimuli on a much deeper level. It is a biological reality, just as natural as your eye color. But there is another, much more painful origin story. For many people, being too aware is not an innate gift. It is a trauma response. It is a profound survival skill that had to be mastered at a very young age. Picture a young child growing up in an unpredictable or unstable home. Perhaps the adults around them were prone to sudden anger, emotional distance, or erratic behavior. In that environment, the child does not have the luxury of just being carefree. To survive, they must become the emotional thermometer of the house. They learn to carefully listen to the sound of footsteps approaching their door. They memorize the exact tone of a sigh that means an argument is coming. They study the facial expressions of the adults to predict the mood, hoping to avoid conflict, smooth things over, or simply stay out of the way. They became experts at reading the room because their safety depended on it. Whether your radar was given to you by genetics or forced upon you by an unpredictable childhood, the outcome remains the same. Your mind has been programmed to believe that monitoring the emotions of others is the only way to navigate the world safely. To truly understand what is happening inside you, we have to look closely at a tiny almond-shaped structure deep within your brain called the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your mind's personal security guard. Its primary job is to scan the environment for danger and ring the alarm bell if something is wrong. For most people, this alarm only goes off when there is an actual physical threat. But when you are a person who is deeply and profoundly aware, your amygdala operates differently. It is stuck in a chronic state of what psychologists call hyper-vigilance. In a state of hyper-vigilance, your internal security guard never goes to sleep, and it does not take days off. Instead of just looking for physical dangers, it is constantly scanning for emotional threats. It monitors the fleeting micro-expressions on your manager's face during a morning meeting. It analyzes the specific, slightly heavier way your partner closes the kitchen cabinet. It even dissects the punctuation in a simple text message. A sudden period instead of an exclamation mark or a slight delay in a reply can send your nervous system into a quiet state of high alert. You are constantly gathering data, trying to predict the weather of other people's moods long before a storm can actually hit. Living this way requires an immense amount of cognitive energy. Just like a smartphone running dozens of heavy applications in the background, this invisible processing drains your mental battery at a terrifying speed. You feel physically tired because your brain is running a marathon every single day, just by existing in the same room as other humans. But the exhaustion does not stop at mere observation. Observation is only the first half of the burden. The real weight comes from what your brain compels you to do with that information. This brings us to a powerful psychological phenomenon known as emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is the tendency to unconsciously absorb and mimic the feelings of those around you, catching their emotions much like you would catch a common cold. But for someone who is overly aware, it goes far beyond simply feeling empathy. Healthy empathy says, "I see that you are sad, I understand your pain, and I am here to support you." Emotional contagion, however, says, "I feel your sadness deep within my own body. The boundary between your feelings and my feelings has vanished, and I absolutely cannot be okay until you are okay again." This is the ultimate trap of being too aware. When you sense tension, disappointment, or awkwardness in a room, you do not just passively acknowledge it. You unconsciously absorb it, and in a split second, you make it your personal responsibility to fix it. You become the unofficial emotional manager of every space you enter. If a dinner conversation suddenly stalls, you are the one who will scramble to fill the heavy silence. If someone looks slightly unhappy at a gathering, you will twist yourself into knots, trying to make them smile, even if you are carrying your own silent grief. You crack the joke, you change the subject, you smooth over the unspoken conflicts. You do all of this not because you want to control people, but because your highly sensitive nervous system desperately craves equilibrium. Deep down, your brain still believes the old survival rule. If the environment is not perfectly peaceful, you are not safe. So, you automatically sacrifice your own inner peace to stabilize everyone else. You continually pour water from your own emotional cup to fill theirs, neutralizing the tension in the room over and over again, until you are left completely empty. Because you have spent years perfecting this ability to read and stabilize the room, you naturally transform into the designated safe haven for everyone around you. You become the therapist friend, the one who always listens, who deeply understands, and who knows exactly what to say to make someone feel truly seen. People gravitate toward you with their heavy hearts, because your presence feels like a warm, comforting blanket. But here is the heartbreaking paradox of your sensitive nature. Because you are a master of emotional camouflage, and because you are so skilled at anticipating what others need, no one ever stops to ask what you need. You hide your own quiet exhaustion behind a reassuring smile. You are so busy holding up the emotional sky for everyone else that people forget you are also carrying a heavy world of your own. No one realizes that the person who is always healing others is silently desperate for someone to hold them. This uneven dynamic leads to the ultimate emotional cost, a profound, aching loneliness that hits you even when you are standing in a crowded room of people who love you. When you spend your entire life turning your radar outward, constantly adjusting your behavior to accommodate the feelings of others, you slowly begin to lose contact with the person inside of you. You prioritize their comfort for so long that you eventually forget how to listen to your own needs. You can no longer distinguish your authentic feelings from the lingering echoes of the emotions you absorbed from them. The quiet tragedy of being too aware of everyone else is that you slowly become a stranger to yourself. So how do we begin to find our way back to ourselves? The first step is recognizing the crucial difference between healthy empathy and emotional absorption. Healthy empathy is like standing safely on the shore and throwing a life preserver to someone who is struggling in the river. You clearly see their distress, you deeply understand their fear, and you offer your genuine support. But your feet remain firmly planted on solid ground. You maintain your boundary. You do not lose yourself in their storm. Emotional absorption, the behavior you have been practicing your entire life, is diving headfirst into the freezing water with them. You do not just witness their panic. You take it deeply into your own lungs. You carry their heavy emotional weight as if it belongs to you, and in doing so, your energy is completely drained. Empathy allows you to walk away and recharge. Absorption leaves you exhausted, carrying the ghosts of other people's problems wherever you go. Which brings us to a painful, necessary question. A question you must ask yourself the next time you feel the urge to fix a broken room. Why do we feel so obligated to save everyone else? Why do we willingly take on the heavy, tangled ball of yarn of someone else's life, while our very own ball of yarn is quietly unraveling right in our hands? Having this profound level of awareness is not a life sentence. In fact, it is one of the most beautiful and rare gifts of the human experience. The ability to truly see and understand another person is a kind of magic, but a gift can only survive if it is fiercely protected. It requires the quiet, steady strength of solid, unwavering boundaries. It is time to stop constantly scanning the horizon for everyone else's storms. As we continue this journey of understanding together here at the Silent Psyche, I want to leave you with one small, gentle challenge. Tonight, when the room finally goes quiet and you are alone with your thoughts, try to take that incredibly powerful radar of yours and slowly turn it inward. Take a deep breath, place a hand over your heart, and softly ask yourself the one simple question you always ask everyone else. Right now, in this very moment, how am I feeling? Thank you for being here. Take good care of yourself, and we will see you in the next chapter.